And then your brain forms and you realize, I wasn't the only kid that did pro wrestling in the backyard, though.
No. Everybody does that.
You did it too? Yeah, I did it.
Well, I actually fought.
There used to be a guy who had the sleeper hold. I don't even know if that works, but it was a sleeper hold.
I know it works.
The late Jimmy Superfly Snuka. So that was kind of who I was.
You were Jimmy Superfly.
We didn't really have turnbuckles. We had like trees and things like that.
Yeah.
You know? Joy Taylor with the news.
No. Turn on the news.
This is the Herdline News. Sponsored by Mercedes-Benz. The best or nothing.
I had pretty lofty goals for myself as a child.
Pro wrestler.
I was going to be the president
of
the United States of America.
Okay, yeah.
I wrote my inauguration speech.
Oh, really?
Yep. My fellow Americans. It was very eloquent.
How old were you?
I was probably like 8.
Yeah. Bubblicious for everyone.
Yeah. Listen, I was solid. I also wanted to be an astronaut and an archaeologist.
Well.
And I settled on hot take guy. So, the relationship between Carson Wentz and the Eagles deteriorated this offseason. Reports surfaced that Wentz wasn't exactly the best locker room guy. But 2 former Eagles that played with Wentz, Malcolm Jenkins and Chris Long, do not agree with that narrative.
All of these things that have happened to him, it may be hard to overcome those things in Philly, but now that he's somewhere else, those lessons are going to be things that he, I hope, will learn from and lean on and make him a better player, especially when it comes to like the locker room stuff. Because like you said, he's not a locker room cancer. We played with him, and that's not it.
You know, this has existed as this extreme conversation when he's got things to fix, but I don't remember ever thinking, what an
No,
you
never.
know?
So locker room cancer is a strong term. I don't know that I would apply that to Carson Wentz.
I don't think there are many of those in sports. But honestly, if I'm always... Okay, I'll give you one. Jay Cutler wore
the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah, he wore a lot of people out. And I don't know Jay. I've met Jay. But I remember somebody I know that knows Jay well and kind of tolerated him said, yeah, he's a blank. And that, I mean, he would, like, Bear fans would come up and say hi, and he would just swear at them. Like, he was a difficult guy. When you have a locker room, let's just take guy sports, and you got 55 alpha males. And, by the way, almost all exceedingly confident. Isn't it possible that Wentz rubs some people the wrong way?
I do think that's possible. I think at the quarterback position, you have a maybe impossible standard of bringing everyone together, but you are the leader of the locker room. But I think what happened with Philadelphia is more complex than just the locker room. Like, we're seeing stories that they weren't, like, Peterson and Wentz weren't talking. To me, the story in Philadelphia isn't necessarily him getting along with his teammates. It's more about what happened with the front office and the head coach. Like, I think as a leader, you have a responsibility to try and get along with the people that are above you. Like, you're an extension of the front office as a quarterback. You're an extension of the head coach. And if you can't make those relationships work, that says more to me about it than getting along with 53 other men. Like, that's a hard thing to do. And different people are motivated differently. And everyone's not wired like Tom Brady. Everybody isn't Patrick Mahomes or Dak Prescott. We have these really big leadership expectations that we put on guys. But my thing with Carson Wentz is I don't know what Carson Wentz has gone through that is so unique to Carson Wentz. Like, he had an injury. Happens to literally everyone that plays this game. He went through having to deal with players that weren't top-notch, playing with practice squad guys and guys that weren't necessarily the best talent. Literally happens to everybody. And his position was drafted. Like, who has this not happened to in the league? Like, I understand that these things are difficult to overcome. I'm not belittling his own experience. I'm just saying there's this kind of idea around him, like, oh, he's been through so much of Philadelphia. Like, what of those things can't we apply to Tom Brady?
Yeah, I mean, I think quarterbacks, Howie Long always says this, you can't have two in the room. One sucks all the oxygen out. It's a difficult position because for my entire life, quarterbacks have been treated differently. You don't compete for the position.
Right.
And like in the last 3 or 4 years, we're going to redraft the position. You've been here a year. Like Tua, we may move off. So quarterbacks are starting to get treated like running backs, like corners, like linebackers. And I think for some of them that grew up as the guy, like if you go to USC or Alabama, Oklahoma, like a big recruiting school, they now recruit 2 great quarterbacks same year, and one of them always transfers.
Right.
They recruit 6 receivers a year, and none of them transfer.
But I think that's a reflection of society. We're just more impatient as a society.
Yeah.
We want results more quickly.
But some quarterbacks, I don't know if they can handle that impatience. Because remember, now, I think in 6-7 years, it will be part of their life experience.
Yeah.
I think we're going through that weird situation where some of these guys who grew up in the old school, which is I'm the guy, is they were going to draft another guy in the second round. It's like, whoa, time out.
And I don't necessarily think that that's the way to do it. I don't really agree with that. I think you have to really be atrocious to be drafting a quarterback in the top 3 rounds every single year. Like, I didn't agree with the Jordan Love pick. And what happened with Jalen Hurts, like, obviously deteriorated the relationship there. But I don't know. I think there's a lot more pressure on Carson Wentz this year than everyone is giving him credit for. So before the Patriots signed Cam Newton last year, it looked like Jarrett Stidham was going to be the guy in New England. I guess to some people, not to me, but some people believe that. He watched from the sidelines, mostly only saw the field in 5 games, and Boston Sports Journal, Greg Bedard, gave more insight into why Stidham never really got a shot. He said there was not much faith in him in the building. There was a feeling within the team that they had turned the keys over to Stidham that would become a complete debacle down the stretch, and that wouldn't be good for anybody.
Here's why I became very skeptical of Jarrett Stidham. I told you this. We watch games. Coaches watch games and practice.
Right.
He practiced for a year there and couldn't beat out Brian Hoyer.
And we didn't hear anything about him. Not that things leak out of New England, because we know they don't, but there was no buzz. Like, there was no intensity around Jarrett. This was like, oh, Brady's gone. I guess it's Jarrett Stidham's job now. Like, why? Because he's there? Because he exists in the building? Like, well, what about him?
This is what I worry about Tua, is that you're starting to hear, remember that story at the end of the year where multiple Dolphin players are like, yeah, but we're at practice and Ryan Fitzpatrick is better. Anytime you go, because I remember Belichick fell in love with Garoppolo in like 3 months. Like, Russell Wilson, I never forget, Seattle had signed Matt Flynn to a $10 million contract. At the time, it was a lot of money for a quarterback. It was some money. And literally, by the second preseason game, you were hearing rumblings, yeah, Russell's going to be the captain of the team and the starter. Legendary Kobe Bryant stories, summer league camp. Like, summer league, not in the league yet. People are like, oh my God, he's destroying people. Like, if you in a year of practice to Belichick doesn't go, that's it, then you're not it. He's got 300 practices. You're not it.
I think it's looking more and more like Cam Newton is going to be back there another year. So his old team, the Panthers, are ready to make a change at quarterback just 1 year after signing Teddy Bridgewater.
Whoa.
They have been in the mix in practically every other quarterback trade discussion, and Albert Breer explained why Carolina might be ready to make a move. He said Carolina is already looking to move on. The main reason for it, as I've heard it, is that he's very clearly shown the physical limitations that limited interest in him as a free agent last year.
Yeah, but everybody knew that going in, is Teddy is kind of Alex Smith. There's arm limitations. There's throws he's not going to make. That's kind of, everybody knew that going in. So,
yeah, I think
he's a bridge.
I think yes, he was. He was. And he is very capable, but if you're going to win the division, if you're going to win multiple playoff games, if you're trying to go to the Super Bowl, then he's probably not the guy. But you got to have the other guy in the building in order to have a bridge.
It's Case Keenum. It's Teddy Bridgewater.
Right.
Case Keenum won 11-5 1 year with the Vikings. If you give him enough stuff, you can win a bunch of games. He's a grown. 5-0 as a starter in New Orleans. But yeah, he's not a guy. You can look at him right there. Not big shoulders, not big arm. To me, he's the best kind of bridge. Smart, respected, hardworking, mentor abilities, and doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He won't make the throws he can't make. He knows what he is.
But I know they're in the mix, or they want to make an offer for Deshaun Watson.
Right.
But if you're not getting someone like Deshaun Watson,
well, then you draft a quarterback at number. What do they have?
So you have to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, and they could get one at 6.
They have him on a 3-year, $63 million deal. But I'm just saying, why move off of him if you don't have another guy in the building?
Yeah, so what they're telling you is they're probably going to draft somebody.
They should.
Yeah,
if they can't get Deshaun Watson, that's what they should do.
Yeah, they actually have a unique package for Deshaun Watson. I'll tell you what, that division now with Brady. Brady's looking at Bridgewater right now, or a rookie quarterback. Matt Ryan with a new coach, and Taysom Hill.
Yeah.
Tom Brady's winning his division.
He tends to do that.
Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Herd brought to you by Jersey Mike Subs. Be a sub above. So the GM of the Buccaneers said Tom Brady will probably get an extension. He's 43 today. He'll turn 44 in August, and I would have no problem giving him an extension. I always laugh at this because I don't consider myself old at all. I think I'm going to do this for another 10 to 15 years until networks are over me. But if you go to Twitter, it wants to tell you that lit, hip, cool, and young are taking over the world. Even in music, Elton John was the second most successful musician in the world last year. He's 73. Our president's almost 80. Tech. Colin, tech is where the young people are. Elon Musk will turn 50 this year. Jeff Bezos is almost 60. Bill Gates, 65. And Larry Ellison, one of the smartest people on the planet, 76. College football is dominated by 69-year-old Nick Saban, and the NFL's Bruce Arians at 68 just won a Super Bowl. Meryl Streep's the best actor maybe of my life is 71. And Tom Brady is 44 in August, and I would absolutely sign him to a 2-year extension. I am not saying old is always the answer, but you guys out there just keep trying to shove us out the door, and it ain't happening.